Hi guys, welcome back and thank you for your feedback on my previous video. I'm still going through your comments, but I think it's safe to say that most of us agree that poor William is getting a bad rap from the press. I think we all agree that jumping on a 22-hour flight for a 2-hour football match would likely have gained William more criticism than he is getting now. Besides, the monarchy, the king in particular, has a formal representative in Australia in the form of the Governor General, who is currently David Hurley. So if anyone should have attended on behalf of the British monarchy, it would have or should have been him, and I hope he did. I am, however, still a little perturbed and concerned about all the negative press William is getting. But before I go on to talk about what I dished up, I want to make a few statements as introduction to today's topic. A tiger escaped from a zoo in India, and Meghan Markle calls for more security to protect her family against this new menace. Eskom suspends load shedding amid rumors that Meghan is negotiating a new deal with Disney. Well, of course, these statements are one, not true, two, totally ridiculous, and three, neither the tiger nor the load shedding in South Africa have anything to do with Meghan Markle. Never has and never will. And although these statements are a little extreme to say the least, it is basically an illustration of exactly the kind of thing the media is doing. And I'm at a point, as I'm sure many of you are, where I can barely stand to listen to any mainstream media regarding the Harkles and the royal family. And the same applies to some channels here on YouTube and other platforms. Yes, us, the mixateers or whatever you want to call us, obviously have Meghan and Harry as our main topic. No argument there. But even so, we should slap ourselves sometimes or knock ourselves back on track and into our lane before we become clowns, just like Harry and Meghan with lies and false narratives. So, in order to knock myself back on track, I am just going to come out and say it. Not everything is about Meghan and Harry. Oh my word. Tweet after tweet, after video, after post, after article is now speculating about whether the family summit at Balmoral will be about Harry and Meghan and their future and their titles or their divorce settlement or the children's future. Blah, 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 bloody blah. And some of these royal reporters should hang their heads in shame because you, royal reporters, are now flat out lying, pretending to have inside information just to spend 10 minutes on GB News or wherever. It is embarrassing. And yes, before some of you run off to Lady C to double check me, don't bother. I will tag her myself because I know she will back me up on this because we may not move in the same circles or even hear the same gossip from the same people. But on this, I know that there is a certain and sure amount of consensus. Firstly, it is not uncommon at all to have a family meeting or summit, albeit an informal one, at Balmoral. During the year, the working royals are more often than not off in different directions. The one opening a festival in Wales, while the other one is handing out honours at Buckingham, and the other visiting a factory in Scotland. Often it is up to the officers to communicate and liaise and make arrangements. In other words, their officers likely communicate more often with each other than they do. So, Balmoral has always been the ideal place, away from prying eyes, away from the media, and with only the closest of staff at hand to really catch up on the work they did in the year before and what they are planning for the one ahead. It is the ideal time to sort out differences without it leaking to the world or being leaked to the world by chambermaids who only overheard half of the story and understood nothing. So, yes, it is not unheard of for the family to have a sit down or powwow at the beginning of their summer holiday. As things are, we do not even know whether this summit is real or whether it's true. How would we know? Who told who? Anyway, having said that, I do believe it is true. And why? Because I think this year in particular, it is indeed very necessary. I had a few online conversations with some of my experts, people who in the past have proven to be very accurate. I asked their opinion and why they think this summit will be more significant or important than the previous ones and what they think will be discussed. My two experts basically have the following to say. Firstly, and importantly, if anyone tells you that they know exactly what it is all about, they are lying. Lying worse than Meghan Markle in an Oprah interview. There is a reason why it is family only and on a private estate. End of story. Secondly, it is indeed likely that the subject of Harry and Meghan will be discussed, and I'll tell you why, and likely what will be discussed later. But for now, it is common knowledge that Charles and William and Charles and Anne and even other members of the family do not agree and cannot reach consensus on the role of Harry and Meghan in the family and in the monarchy. And it needs to be ironed out. Charles cannot continue to ignore the issue and flee the country each time Harry sets foot in England. Yes, I know. A lot of people are saying, oh, but Charles can't dare speak to Harry because Harry will give an interview about it or he'll write a book about it. It doesn't matter. The matter needs to be dealt with. No, Harry will not be invited to this so-called family summit at Balmoral. But I do believe the story that Charles has asked him to stop off in England after Invictus in Düsseldorf. I think that whatever decision the family come to at Balmoral will be conveyed to Harry at the meeting with his father. And I sincerely hope that Harry will be an adult for once and accept the invitation to meet his father. For once, he should let the witch go back to California and settle whatever needs to be settled with his family, one way or the other. At the end of the day, if it means drawing a line under all of it, then so be it. But that line needs to be drawn. However, and this is the actual point I wish to make in this video, my experts are 100% adamant that way too much emphasis is being placed on Harry and Meghan as subject and topic for the so-called family summit. Way, 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 way too much. My one expert is actually of the opinion that the subject of Harry and Meghan will likely be dealt with in 15 minutes, if that much, as most senior family members are actually in agreement as to what should be done, with only one or two still on the fence. According to both my experts, there is a long, long list of things, most way more important than Harry and Meghan, which need to be ironed out among the senior members. Andrew and his involvement and treatment being one of those things. And I'm going to come back at some point and talk to you about the Yorks again and explain why I am absolutely stubborn and refuse to criticize them or slate them, any of them. Anyway, moving on. That's a discussion for another day. My experts are telling me that the disagreements between William and Charles, as far as the running of the Duchy of Cornwall is concerned, also needs urgent attention. William is a lot more practical and a lot less elitist than his father. However, one cannot ignore the fact that Charles had been in charge for 50 years, and in many cases, and among the older generation, the transition to William and his way of doing things may not be as easy as everyone thought it would be. And a way has to be found where it will go more smoothly. I'm told that to date, Charles has not made it easy for William and has indeed interfered in what was described to me as slipping in through the back door, and that William feels that King Charles is undermining his authority and second guessing his decisions. Whether that is indeed how William feels, no one knows. But from what I hear, and not only from these two experts, it is clear that the two men have quite a bit to straighten out. Then my experts say that there is a lot to be sorted out concerning the Queen's estate. A lot. I haven't even thought about that. You see, in 1993, a deal was negotiated with John Major's government which exempts the monarch from paying inheritance tax, which is then the reason why the Queen made Charles her sole beneficiary of her estate, basically to avoid inheritance tax. You see, if anyone but Charles, who became monarch the moment his mother passed, inherited anything, he or she would have paid inheritance tax. So instead, the Queen trusted her eldest son to do the right thing by his brothers, sisters, and her grandchildren. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he absolutely didn't, but I can tell you that there is or was definite and specific issues which the rest of the family are unhappy, even upset about. Even someone as logical and grounded as Princess Anne had allegedly reason to be upset. Knowing the little that I do know, I feel that Anne even gave a few hints about that in that interview with the Canadian journalist. Anyway, the media even reported on Andrew's unhappiness about Charles's unwillingness to share in the spoils of his inheritance. But I'm told in no uncertain terms that Andrew is not the only one, and that there is indeed some resentment among other family members as well. So yes, that would be another topic of discussion and something which needs to be talked out before it festers even more and spills over. Like my experts told me and proved to me by way of examples, a family meeting or summit will definitely not center around Harry and Meghan, as there are far greater and even more potentially hurtful and damaging matters to deal with. And the media constantly making everything about Harry and Meghan is now cheapening themselves, damaging their own credibility, and as one of my experts called it, downright lazy journalism. You see, it is so much quicker and faster to just blame it all on Harry and Meghan than to actually type an email or going out and talking to people or reading multiple articles from various and sometimes opposing sources. Nah, that's way too much. Just blame it on Meghan and Harry. Why not? And then, to circle back to where I started this video, why the gradual increase in negative commentary in the press about William? I'm going to read you something from Courtiers by Valentine Lowe. Michael Pete did not always get on with Buckingham Palace. He ended up bumping heads a bit. He was doing his master's bidding. Now, Michael Pete worked for Charles. The prince was taking on more, being more vocal, and there is always that tension between the palaces. It is built into the system. Competition between the principals, between the organizations. Yes, even Harry spoke about the various offices and households using the media to compete against each other for loyalty and popularity. Is it happening again with Charles's staff spreading negative propaganda against William? Well, I have some ideas and suspicions, and as we know, in that kind of shit stirring, Harry and Meghan are certainly not innocent. But we'll talk about that in a next video. So, until we meet again on that one, please take good care of yourself. Bye.